Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 5:37 p.m. Welcome to the Planning and Zoning Work Session of Monday, December 2nd, 2024. Did anyone sign up to speak on any item listed on the work session agenda?
No one signed up. Please proceed.
Thank you. All right. The first item on our agenda is election of officers.
I'd like to nominate you, Josh, if you're willing to stay in your position and continue to be our chair for the next year.
All right. I'm willing to do that.
Second.
Is it appropriate for me to call for the vote on that?
Why don't you call for the vote?
There's been a motion for Josh to have another term as Commissioner of the Planning and Zoning Chair. That's Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission. And there's a second been made. And so can we take a vote?
We just do it by hand.
Okay, raise your hand, all in favor. Any opposed? Motion carries 9-0. Congratulations.
Great, thank you. All right, I'll take back over. All right, so now we have...
Mr. Chairman, I'd
Yes.
like to make a motion to nominate Debbie Hack for Vice Chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission this year. If, Debbie, would you accept it if you were elected?
I would be pleased to. Thank you.
All right.
Second.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please raise your hand if you're in favor. All right. Anyone opposed? No? All right, passes unanimously. And then we have one additional spot for secretary. Do we have any nominations on that?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to nominate April Myrick, who is not present today, but I did speak with her, and she was willing to accept it if there was no further options.
Okay.
She was happy to accept, not even if there was an option.
All right.
I second.
Yeah, so I think we get another nomination.
I'd like to make a nomination for secretary. If Priscilla would accept it, if she was elected.
Thank you so much. I will have to decline the nomination at this time, just keeping future endeavors in mind. But I'm really honored for the nomination. Thank you so much. This is a great commission, so thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other nominations? No? Then we have a motion, and I believe we had a second. All right, everybody in favor? Anybody opposed? I don't see anybody opposed, so it was a unanimous vote in favor.
Chairs in between meetings. Before the hearing.
Okay. Okay, before
Now,
the
what
evening
happens if
session?
April declines?
Great.
We vote again?
What's that?
If April declines, do we vote again?
No, she's stuck.
If she doesn't show up, she has to serve.
Okay, that'll work.
It's too late for her.
She drew the short straw.
We will need somebody to act as secretary during the evening session, though. Okay, great. We have somebody who's willing to do that. All right. Report on the city council meeting of November 7th. Was there anything to report other than what was in the materials that we received? Jocelyn, Ken, was there anything from the city council meeting, anything else we need to know?
No.
No? All right. Then we'll go on to our review of the public hearing items.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Planning and Zoning Commission. You have three different sections for consent agenda tonight. The consent agenda approval is for the minutes of November 4th and for Plat 2024349-PL, that's the Beltline Grand Prairie Industrial Edition. Consent agenda for conditional approval for the reasons stated in the memo are 2024255 Elysian Estates. That plat has a private street, which requires city council approval of a private street. And then two items for consent agenda for disapproval, 2024125 Fun and Furious Edition and 2024373 Fleming Villas Edition. for the reasons stated in the memos, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions about the plats? No?
Okay.
Go on to the individual items.
First item then is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2024-332-CP, and it has a companion case, item number 8, which is 2024277-ZC. And Haley is available to present.
Hello. Alrighty. Alrighty, so the first case of tonight is the one for the 2024-332 CP, located at 715, 711 North Main Street and 114 West Union Bower Road. They're wanting to go from Main Street downtown to manufacturing and warehouse. After review, the staff recommendation is for approval. In terms of public comment, there was none in support or opposition. This is the subject properties. It's going to be that whole site, so those three. Future land use, so that Main Street downtown. The people who were notified. And then for the existing proposed future land use, so for the Main Street downtown designation, it is a mixed-use walkable area with continuous building frontages, on-street and rear parking, oriented towards outdoor public spaces and activities. Uses should include retail, office, restaurant, entertainment, with a focus on drawing visitors from other parts of the region and community to the site. Upper floor residential and/or office uses are encouraged. And then for manufacturing warehouse, so what is they're proposing to change to is the primary light manufacturing, warehousing, and storage inside a building, but with some supportive commercial uses present. Exterior design is presented as an office park aesthetic rather than purely functional appearance is preferred. So the kind of criteria for the change to future land use map, it should require the following. If it's new construction, it conforms to the new use standards. If they meet all the compatibility standards for adjacent uses, and the rezoning does not cause any negative impacts. So this is the subject property. And then once again, the future land use map, and I'm open to any questions.
So you said we didn't have no opposition or anything on this?
Yeah, in terms of letters of support and opposition, we received neither for those categories. So yeah, 0 in opposition, 0 in support.
I'd like to remind the commissioners, this is a piece of property that's located basically right next to the pallet company that we had opposition worried about, noise, et cetera, and the houses that are there. So just want to give you all a reminder of that.
Jocelyn, do you have something to add on that?
Yeah, so the future land use for this area, this is just north of downtown. And so what you see here is the Main Street downtown, because the kind of long-term vision was maybe the Main Street, kind of the walkable mixed-use pattern would go into this area. The property just to the east of here is actually owned by the city and is currently being constructed into what's called MDU, or municipal utility, or municipal drainage utility yard. So the area is probably, the reason we're okay with the manufacturing here is because the area, we don't see it ever really transitioning into a mixed-use area like we originally had thought. Staff is working on a future land use amendment that you will see. It's not going to be this year's cycle, it's going to be next year's because of the way we had to divide those, but we are cleaning this area, among other areas, up. So I wanted to give you a little bit of context as to why we did support the manufacturing here between the city's property and the land use discussions that we've been going through. I think we have a map for the zoning case that shows that.
We do. It's page 73 in your, is the map that Jocelyn
Do we have it in the slide deck?
I don't know if we have a slide.
Okay.
We may have left out, but it is on page 73 in the packet.
So I'll be happy to answer any questions, but I wanted to give a little bit of context as to why we kind of went from a walkable mixed use to kind of the industrial that's there today.
The proposed use is it's pretty much the same as what it's currently being used or been used as?
It's changing. They're wanting to do kind of a storeroom for granite, but also cut and store on site.
Okay.
So it's open to the public to come in, look at, what they have, and then, of course, if they make orders, then to cut accordingly. And the applicant is here as well, so he can answer any questions during the
And what has it been in the past?
I believe it was a door company. Yeah. It was so they made like doors. So, but everything around it, and I'll talk about this in their zoning case next as well. But to the south of them is like a tow yard. To the north of them is a kind of car sales or car auto shop. Not car sales at all, but yeah, kind of body shop. And then as Jocelyn mentioned, the MDU yard to the east now, that's being developed.
Do you have a slide showing the kinds of uses that are around it?
In the zoning case.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, can we just go on to the zoning case then?
Yeah, for
So we
sure.
can see that too, because I think that would be very, very helpful
Well,
for our discussion.
Josh, to give you a little bit of insight on this one, this used to be an electrical HVAC company originally. Then it went to a general contracting company. He used it for offices, and now it's sitting, vacant. So it's been in the construction for the last 25 years. It's been a construction company, sort of light, office, store your vehicles, put your tools in type, warehouse is what it's been. It's not really been a manufacturing type facility.
Oh, so they haven't been, okay, so that.
No,
that was-
it's been mainly office storage. They bring their vehicles in, they park them, people put their tools up, and they leave.
Okay.
That's what this facility's been probably for the last 20, 25 years.
Okay,
Numerous construction companies, but nothing manufacturing or running heavy saws and
Yeah, that's
all
what I
that
was
stuff.
really
Yeah,
looking for.
it's not been any of that.
and what about the surrounding properties?
Surrounding properties, there's I think it's GT Mechanical is right down from it, so another heating and air company, and then there's some kind of pipe company down at the very end. And then down on the other side is industrial warehouses and everything else, so. It's pretty much, it fits the group. You got some residentials
yeah.
in the area.
That's what it looked like to me when I drove by. I appreciate the
Yeah.
historical background too, yeah.
Okay. And then for I'll just go ahead to the,
So this is the map that we were referring to, think of my bearings. So over here, it's on the right-hand side of your screen. You see the Union Bower Learning Center, that label. So just down to the south of that is a blue area. That's the yard that the city owns, the MDU, the Municipal Drainage Utility Yard. So you'll see on the right side, these are the same area, just the one on the left is our existing future land use, the one on the right is what we are considering. And again, you'll see this as a batch, but it's not ready quite yet. Again, the blue is the city yard, and then we would be going to neighborhood commercial on the west side. So just kind of give you, again, a little context of what we were thinking when we were analyzing this case.
Jocelyn, would you mind just saying what the city was proposing again for the open space?
So it's called MDU. It's a municipal drainage utility. So that's what they do is they design, identify, they design, engineer, construct. They are the ones, when you see all of the drainage work and all the channelization, they are the ones doing all that work. They're the ones cleaning out all of the drainage facilities. But there is I believe it's a monthly fee that goes to that, and that's the work that they do.
Does that mean there'd be heavy equipment there? What is it likely to have noise associated with the city facility there?
There'll be a yard, a storage yard. There'll be a building. I believe it's going to be a 2-story building, if I'm correct, and there will be a storage yard there.
Okay.
That property used to be actually a concrete plant. And there was some issues, environmental issues and stuff, and basically the city accumulated it on back taxes.
alrighty. And so, yeah, this is the companion case, the 2024-277ZC. So yeah, they're wanting to go from the commercial warehouse to a detailed site plan for light industrial 20A, so to allow the manufacturing, storage, and sale of granite countertops. And then for staff recommendation, after reviewing, we recommend approval. And then for public comment, there was, once again, none in support or opposition. And this is the surrounding zoning. So yeah, you can kind of see the ML20 to the
Haley, can you go
east.
back to the aerial and sit on that
Oh,
just
yeah.
for a minute? Yeah, because because we were talking about the uses in the area, and this kind of helps a little bit to sit on this and just kind of see where we are today. And granted, future land use, it's okay to envision something different, but for several reasons, we just, if you think about, should commercial go here, should residential go here, what should go here? And it's just, with the railroad there and with the MDU site, it's just a difficult street to see transitioning into something else. So we went through all those options in our head as we were analyzing these two cases.
Yeah, and so the surrounding zoning, you can see the ML20 to the east, the community commercial warehouse. Really the only residential is to the kind of the northwest, kind of where the 114 West Bower is, that back lot. So right above that is some existing R6. And then notifications. And this is the site plan. The white square, that's the existing warehouse, and then the dark gray is what they're proposing to do to add to it. The only variances that they're requesting is to their side yard setbacks, because this is 3 different lots. Some of it is not in compliance where the existing building is, and then also for the new proposed, but the applicant has been notified that they will have to replat. So once they replat the 3 lots into one, all these variances will become moot at that point. And then also because of the, want to point out as well, the drives. So there's one on North Main Street, and then there's 2 on the alley. Traffic did recommend to have them off of Main Street. So that's kind of this is what they're proposing to do.
So if after the replat, the variances aren't needed, why would we be doing variances?
Because they need to do a zoning change in order to allow the use. And then since we kind of want to clean things up as well and kind of make sure we're doing the right thing. So instead of ignoring it, we want to just bring it to light, have it become legal. And we went back and forth on, should we have them plat first, should we have them zone first, and ultimately decide.
No, I mean, I don't mean the zoning change, but because you have the zoning or.
They
So
can't plat in violation of zoning. So they can't plat first because they'd be violating the setbacks. So they had to go through the zoning in order to, correct me if I'm wrong, but we talked about this a lot too, is they can't plat first into one lot because of the setbacks, I believe, for the buildings. Chime in, it's been a few weeks since we talked about it.
Yeah, it's, basically, if we just platted it would be just zoned as straight zoning, it would be in violation of the zoning. Right now, it is a chicken and egg kind of situation. This is actually one, we looked at a couple of different ways of doing it. This is the way that actually got the applicant in and out faster. So
Okay.
we decided to go with that.
Because the zoning is just commercial warehouse to light industrial, right?
Right.
But then they also have variances. So the variance is the part that I don't understand about.
The variances are all on the variances to the interior setback lines, and the interior setback lines will go, if this is developed, then it'll go away, because in order for them to do this development, they'll end up having to plat the property as a single lot.
Or is this issue because it's done as a detailed site plan? Is that what's creating the?
The detailed site plan is being done because we're trying to get the zoning into conformance to where they could do the plat. If they did this way, if they tried to plat or tried to build right now without the replat, they couldn't build without the replat, and they couldn't zone it with this configuration and not have the variances right now. And so it's a whole, it's the building permit and the plat and the zoning and them all kind of falling on top of each other. So in kind of working with them, this was oddly the fastest way to get them in and out and through the building, because they've got some utility work that they need to do also. They can't really do that. They don't want to do anything until they know they have the entitlement to the zoning, but they can't get the straight zoning and do what they want to do until they replat. So it's just a circular thing.
So, yeah, my concern is just, as always, the variances. variances generally allow for changes that might not be on a illustrative example, but this is actually what they would be bound by, this design
Yes.
here.
Yes,
So if they wanted to do anything different than this design,
Yes.
they would have to come back to us.
yes.
So by it going this order, it doesn't give them the option of doing something different than what they're showing us today.
No, they still have to do what they're
Okay.
being shown, it just the lot lines would disappear, so the variances would become moot, but they would still have to design to what you're seeing on the screen right
Okay,
now.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't understand your question.
That,
I have one question on this. I noticed, and this is for, what was Fire's comment on this? Because I noticed we got a 15-foot alleyway to access the building at 114, and then you got your 20-foot alleyway right there. Typically, ain't the fire lanes 22 minimum and 24 width?
Yeah, they
To
did.
be able to get a truck in and out?
Yeah, after we did a pre-dev with them, and after discussing with Haley, they did apply for a variance for the fire lane to be all the way across north, being that 20 feet and some change. So they were approved for that,
So Fire did
variance.
go ahead and approve the ingress and egress to it?
Yes.
Okay. And they approved the 300-foot radius to the back of the building?
Yes.
Okay.
any other question on either of these two items?
So so the closest residential property is the one located on the northwest side?
Yeah, it'd be
And
directly
you can
above
pull up the
here.
map.
Oh, the aerial?
Yeah, the aerial, yeah. So
So this is kind of,
that's a
For-
house right there, right? Those three,
yes, correct.
those are houses.
Yes.
Now, out of those, around those houses, what's allowed to do manufacturing? What, what of those properties is zoned right now that they are allowed to do manufacturing?
I mean, they were just, are you talking about the surrounding properties, why they're allowed to do?
If they are allowed to do any type of
The
manufacturing?
residential properties?
No, the ones around the residential properties.
Oh, so like around the subject property,
Yes.
like these? I mean, they were zoned and have that.
Can you
we're
go to
able
the
by right.
slide that shows the zoning for the different spots?
Absolutely.
The different sites? Yeah.
So you can see, yeah, we have commercial warehouse here. So these are those 3 residential homes. We have commercial warehouse, community commercial, SP1. This is that MDU, Charleston's been talking about.
But
Well,
that
this-
one right there, what is, which one's that?
I believe that one's the tow yard.
The tow yard, okay.
Yeah.
And once if this was granted to do ML, what else, let's say this property sells 10 years from down the road, what else could they manufacture in that location?
Anything that's allowed under ML20A, that is something we, when talking with them, asked them, or kind of said, ML20A might be the best bet because it's not as intense as like ML20, 40, all those other things. So it is, even though it is light industrial, it is kind of the less intense that they could do. So anything that's under that ML20A zoning district, they can do.
Thank you.
Any other questions on these items? No? Great, thank you.
Cool. Should I go through the photos or anything, or should I go through the site photos, or are we good?
Yeah, just
Okay,
flip through them.
okay.
Yeah.
Subject property. And this is where that alley is, and then north of the subject property, south of the subject property, and then this is where that MDU yard is, and then the site plan again, so.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jason Gillis, planner, presenting zoning case 2024-323ZC. This is currently located at 4835 North O'Connor Road, Suite 100. It is currently zoned PUD 1 CN, so Plan Unit Development Number 1, Neighborhood Commercial, and being Development Plan Number 22. The applicant is wanting to rezone to PUD for SP1 RIB, so Plan Unit Development for Detailed Site Plan, Restaurant with Attendant accessory use of sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premise consumption to allow the on-premise consumption of alcohol at a restaurant. Staff does recommend approval, and we've seen 4 letters in support and none in opposition. Here's the aerial map showing the restaurant La Pete of Las Colinas, which is a 3,362 square feet restaurant that has been in this multi-tenant shopping center for about 38 years, and it's attached to other restaurants in this multi-tenant shopping center, and then across the street is some office building. Next to it is some multifamily, and then some other office, mixed other office uses, and then south to the property is some also more multifamily. Here's the notification map, and then here is the site plan. So for development plans, they are permitted, this zoning is permitted to have restaurant use and outdoor dining. However, the sale of alcohol does require a separate zoning case. The restaurant does meet the definition for Chapter 9, as this is already a currently running restaurant, and we do believe they'd be able to meet at least the 40% revenue for food or non-alcoholic beverages. The proposal also complies with including maintaining the minimum 300 feet from residents, religious facilities, schools, or hospitals. And since this is in a PUD, it does require that there be a change of relocation of sufficient acreage, as the PUD 1 does have availability of 9.4 acres available for RIB uses. So in the next case, it goes over the companion case for the development plan. Here's the subject property, east of subject property, south of subject property, and then west of subject property. And then since this does align with the comprehensive plan amendment, it meets zoning regulations and alcohol regulations, staff can support this case, and I'll be happy to answer any cases for the zoning, or I can go into the next companion case, which would be the development plan.
Could you go on to the companion case?
So here's the development plan being zoning case 2024-376 DVP, which is 4835 North O'Connor Road, which is the whole property. This is an allocate an additional 0.07 acres of SP1 RIB restaurant with the attendant of accessory use of alcohol that to be used the acreage to previous approved for the PUD number 1. Staff does recommend approval, and we've seen letters 4 in support and none opposed. Here's the entire lot showing the aerial, the notification map, and then here's the site plan again. Since this isn't a PUD, like I said previously, it does need to reallocate acreage. The RIB in PUD 1 does allow 10 acres of RIB. Currently, 9.484 acres are available. After allocating the 0.77, now the PUD would have 9.407 acres, which gives a sufficient amount of acreage for the PUD for other RIBs in this area of PUD 1 to come in. So here's the subject property, northwest of subject property, east subject property, and then here's the south and west again. And based on that, since there is a sufficient amount of acreage, we do believe that the development plan can be approved at P&Z, and I'll be happy to answer any questions on this.
Any questions on these two items? No? Thank you very much.
Good evening, Commissioners. The next case is 2023, that actually should be 2024, 330-ZC. It's located at 1214 Britton Road, South Britton Road. They are requesting to rezone the property from R6 to SP2 for R6 to allow an accessory building with variances to the maximum height, the minimum side and rear yard setbacks as well. The staff recommendation is that there is no unnecessary hardship that was found, and the site plan does not comply with the development standards outlined in the appropriate zoning section. We did not receive any forms in opposition or support. This is the aerial photograph of the property in question. And this is the future land use map, the surrounding zoning map, the property owner notification boundary, and this is the site plan indicating the location of the building on the property and also summarizing the variances that the applicant is requesting. This case actually began as a code enforcement case back in May 2020. The building was reported for work without a permit, and upon further inspection by our code enforcement department, it was determined that the work had been done without a permit. Upon further investigation by the inspections department, where the applicant was referred to get a building permit, it was also discovered that the original buildings had been constructed and expanded without permits. That eventually led to them being referred to the planning department to request for any necessary variances to keep the structure in its current location. The owner maintains that when he purchased the property about a year ago, that the building was already on site. We have been able to corroborate that with aerial photographs. So going back quite a number of years, the building does seem to have a footprint there in that part of the yard. So it's very possible that when he purchased it, it was there and had existed that way for many years. But it does appear that the interior has been expanded and upgraded. He maintains that he was replacing siding on the exterior and just making any improvements to use it as a storage building. We did make the owner aware that it cannot be used as a dwelling accommodation. He is very aware of that now, and he has agreed to make any necessary changes to modify it so that it would not qualify as a dwelling accommodation. That being said, he's still got 3 issues with the location of the building and the height of the building that do not comply with the accessory building standards. I'll start with the height. The maximum height for a setback of 5 feet would be a 10-foot structure. You can increase the height of the building for each additional foot of setback. So we have it in the code that you can go up to a maximum of 20 feet in height with a setback of 15 feet from the property line, both rear and side. The issue with this building is that as he has measured it, it's 21 feet in height, so that exceeds even our maximum for accessory buildings. So he is requesting the 11-foot variance for that. And then for detached accessory buildings, they require a minimum side yard setback, as we just discussed, of 5 feet for a structure that's 10 feet in height. However, due to the height of the building, he would need an 11-foot 8-inch variance for the side yard and a 9-foot 6-inch variance for the rear yard. The structure is right now only 4 feet 4 inches away from the side and 6 feet 6 inches away from the rear. And this is the subject property. This is directly across the street. And this is a photo of the accessory structure in the rear yard. As you can see, it's the peaked roof that kind of gives it the exceptional height. This is another picture. And this is the interior. It does not have any electrical or plumbing. It was simply framing at this point. We determined that to be the case, discussing it with inspections and code enforcement. So again, staff does not find any hardship evident, and we are not recommending, no recommendation or a finding of no unnecessary hardship. I'm happy to take any questions or comments you have.
You mentioned that some changes had been made to it. Were they,
We believe there were changes made to it. The owner said that when he purchased the house, the interior of the building had two separate foundations that were at two different levels. And I think he was attempting to also rectify that possibly so that it was one level. Hopefully he can shed some more light on that when he's here later to speak to you all.
okay, the changes don't have any effect on the variances that are being requested?
No, they were strictly interior. And I believe that that footprint has been in a square shape. You can kind of see on this photo, there was a red kind of mark in the corner that actually was, I kind of marked some of that out, but, because it was a little bit confusing, but that red area was a square, in the shape of a square, and seemed to be like another little room within the other part of the structure.
Okay. And you mentioned that it's been there for a while. I mean, how far back can it be seen on aerial photos?
I want to say it was at least back to the 70s.
Right, this building's been there since the 70s?
Yeah. I'm sorry?
A building has been there.
A building has been there.
Okay.
It's impossible to say
If you-
exactly what it was in certain cases, but you can definitely see, we checked the historic aerials going back quite a few decades, and you can see the shadow of something there.
Was the historical air, excuse me, I didn't mean to interrupt you, were they a garage, maybe? This is not 70s construction, not at all.
All you could really see was just kind of a rusted metal roof, just on the
Yeah,
area.
so it was a little barn probably,
Possibly.
garage, et cetera.
And he did say that he was trying to repair the roof as well.
Because right now, it looks honestly like an ADU. That's what it's designed as an ADU. The windows, the doors, et cetera.
Excuse me, how far back can you go? Because he also had converted his garage in the front of the house. I don't know when that was done. He had to have a permit for that, I believe.
Like I said, I think I went back to the 70s on the historic aerials with it being there. But again, it's not a science. We just use it as a tool to give us an idea of how long the structure may have been there.
So something about this size and about this location seems to have been there since the 70s.
Yes.
If this is approved, it doesn't give him the authority or the authorization to operate it as an ADU,
No.
right? So
No, in
even-
fact, he will have to modify the structure so that it cannot be used as one.
As an accessory dwelling unit.
Correct.
Okay. Because we're not being asked to approve an accessory dwelling unit.
No, he is very aware that that is not something that would be permitted.
Well, and just as a comment, this is Daniel. I take it the footprint of the building looks like it existed back, but I would find it hard to believe that it was that high and had that pointed roof. But I take it from the picture, it's hard to tell.
Yes, it's very difficult for us they didn't have street view back then, so it's hard to see between the houses and really know what was back there unless we have neighbors that tell us. There's no way to know.
Have there ever been any complaints about it from the neighbors?
No, not that I'm aware of.
And because you can see it from the street now.
Most likely.
Yeah.
We need to keep in mind on this one specifically, because whatever happens in the legislators, this thing here could have these top setbacks and be right up against someone as a living quarters, depending upon what happens this year with the legislation.
Gina, do you know if the house to the 1208, which is just next door, it's a very large house, this picture makes it look like there's plenty of space between the houses, but when I drove past, it looked pretty close, and it's very tall. So I'm thinking about this accessory unit being 20 feet tall. Does anybody know if there were any variances on the house next door to allow for height like that and with its width on the property side yard?
Are you,
I'm asking if there were variances to that house in
That
terms
house,
of the
the
height
adjacent?
and side, proximity to the side yard boundaries.
house
there
to the
are
north?
none that I'm aware of.
Yeah, 12, it's very large.
Yeah. Yeah, very tall, too.
Yes, that's my
So
point.
in the R districts, you can go to 25 feet as measured at midpoint. So 25 feet is typically normally a two-story house.
Okay.
So this probably had no issues in terms of code.
And did we discuss with him if he's willing to make it, modify it so that it's an accessory dwelling and we're certain it stays, as an accessory unit and not as a dwelling unit? Can we require him to bring the roof line down? Because if he brings the roof line down to 10 feet, he's only asking for an 8-inch variance for the side yard.
You can absolutely ask.
Yeah, I'm not sure, what would you store in something that's a 20-foot ceiling?
You have 21 feet to the peak is where that's at. So depending upon what your roof pitch is will be determining how high your, how high your interior is. Typically, if he's using it for storage, a garage is, your standard little storage unit's 10 feet. And then you got your peak, so you could be looking at, with this spread, maybe probably 14, 15 feet if you lowered it down. So it's not going to change much. It's not going to have much of a change. To do a minimum of 412. Now, if you did metal roofing, you can lower it down lower. Shingle roof, you can't really do anything less than a 412. It'll leak because shingles are simply a water shedder. They're not really a waterproofer.
I just have one more comment. Because you mentioned that he was a first-time home buyer, and so this was already in existence, allegedly. And so I do want to just suggest, I don't know if this is something that we can do at the libraries, but maybe have like a workshop for first-time home buyers on what they can and can't build in their house, just be more educational, just so there's more awareness for people moving into the community when it comes to making structures in the future.
Yeah, we do have a lot of information on our website, especially the building inspections page has a really good, what do I need a permit for? But if you're not even going to the web page, then you may not ever come across that information, so.
By any chance, when he submitted his packet, did he give you a site plan when he bought the property showing that this building was still sitting there with these dimensions?
What you see is what we got. We tried to explain that, that should be within his mortgage documents, and that is what he provided to us.
So we don't have a stamp dated site plan.
I had to cut part of the bottom off to make it, I kind of helped him with his direction and approval to kind of make it just a little bit more legible for y'all, but.
Because normally on site plans, they'll mark, shed, garage, or they'll make some kind of indicator on what that actually was, whether it's a concrete pad, et cetera. So it's normally marked on the original site plan. At least most developers, most surveyors I know do that.
It's possible that it was on there and marked as, just an accessory building, but I kind of doctored it to make it a little bit cleaner because he had written on it, so. But
Okay.
I could go back and double check the original survey that he provided to us, but I want to say it was a little bit on the
Well,
older side.
that would make a difference if he just originally bought the house and it showed concrete pad and now we got a house sitting there, or it showed whatever it's, the surveyor.
And he may be able to answer that for us as to which if that survey was the one that he had with his owner's documents. I'm assuming it is, but
Okay.
Any other questions on this one?
any other questions?
Doesn't look like it.
All good? Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so for this next case, it's 2024-341ZC. This is located at 1422 English Street. They're wanting to go from single-family residential 7.5 to a generalized site plan for single-family residential 6. This includes variances to the minimum lot depth, minimum rear yard setback, minimum corner side yard setback, and the minimum lot width and area for transition lots. After review of the case, as a staff, we recommend denial. In terms of public comment and forms, there was none in support or opposition. This is the aerial of the property. Future land use being compact neighborhood. And then this is the zoning. So a lot of residential, or single and multifamily, and some commercial to the north. This is the property owners that were notified. And then this is the site plan. The dark one, so lot A is kind of the one to the, I guess, on this way, it's south or kind of the bottom. The dark gray frame, that's a house that's already existing. And then the one to the north, that's lot B. And it has, kind of just enough to where, since it's general or since it's detailed, we just wanted to kind of show that we didn't want them to lock into an actual outline of the house. So that's kind of showing just enough to show the setbacks. This is kind of, there's a few other slides that will show as like visuals for the transitional lots, but this is the overall, this is all the variances listed out. So for proposed lot A, so that one that's on English Street, the one that already has a house. So for the existing R7.5 with so their current zoning, it is similar to R6, the 100 feet for lot depth, the rear yard being the 20 feet, the corner side yard setback being the 25 feet. And so they're proposing for that A, for the lot depth to be 66 feet. So it is smaller than the R6. The rear yard, they're going to do 11 feet instead of the 20, and then the corner yard setback, 7 feet. And we did include the corner side yard setback for new home construction. It may seem like they're going to keep the house, but we just wanted to ensure in the future that if they were decided to demo it and then put a new house, that they would have to then be, they would have to be up to standard to that 25 feet. Proposed lot B, which is the one kind of behind it where the kind of existing backyard is, so that lot, they're proposing variances to the lot depth and rear yard setback from the R6 standards. So it's starting at 100 feet for the lot depth. They were proposing 93, and then for the rear yard, it is required 20, and they're proposing 7. Finally, their requirements for the transitional lot, that 5.35, we've had a few cases recently about, the subdividing of lots, one lot into 2 for single family. It's that same section. For the lot A, one with the existing house, they're doing a minimum lot area. So for R7.5, the minimum is 7,500. Because the lots around here are bigger, their transitional lot minimum requirement is 13,068 square feet. And so they're proposing a variance of 6,100, or sorry, they're proposing 6,138 square feet. So the variance being the 6,930. And then finally, the proposed lot B, so the one that's the backyard that a new home's going to be on, they're having a minimum lot area. So it's the same as the 7,500. And for this side, it's actually a 9,473, so a little bit smaller. And they're requesting a 4,929 square foot lot. And then their minimum lot width, it's 60 in both R7.5 and the traditional, and they're proposing 53 feet. So this is kind of another way to look at it. So this is for lot A, so that orange. So this is the lot area that we were able to get off of GIS. And so we take those, we average them, and then we take the 80% of that, and that's how we get that number. And then this is for Lot B, so the one in the back. And they're requesting variances for the lot area and width again. So the orange is the lot width, and then again, the blue is that square feet or the area. And so this is the subject property, so this is kind of what you would see as Lot A, the proposed Lot A. And then this is the subject property on East Crawler, so kind of where that fence is and turn in, that would kind of be the frontage of that proposed Lot B, or where that house would be. And then this is east, so just the neighbors directly next to them. And this is across the street north of them. And then this is the across the street neighbor if you're looking from where the existing house is. And then the neighbor to the next of them. All right, and I'm open to any comments or questions.
Questions on this one?
It does appear like there used to be some type of driveway to that lot that is empty. Any idea what used to be there?
Not that I'm aware.
Haley, go to the aerial if you would, please. So all of these lots along English, where the larger, you can kind of see, well, you were good where you were.
Oh, okay.
Where they're larger lots. So the 714, the new house, was part of the rear lot. And so that driveway was probably just going into the rear, because, you know, people to keep trailers or whatever. So that driveway was probably just serving the rear lot. But these, because it's a corner lot, they have the ability to have access onto Grauweiler. But the depth of it is similar to all the other lots on English Street.
So originally 714 and these two, this lot that they're trying to cut in two, were all one lot?
Correct.
Okay.
To me, it's sort of an extreme stretch. It looks like she was saying that, you know, the one lot was cut in half, and now they want to take the other lot and do the same. I don't know if I could support that.
Any other questions on this one? Nope. All right. Thank you very much.
Our next case is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2024-344-CP. It's located at 801 Singleton Boulevard. The applicant is requesting a change from compact neighborhood to local commercial. The staff recommendation is denial. We did not receive any comments in support, and we received one in opposition. We received a second letter of opposition from the property owner to the west. I have copies of that letter, but was not able to get them to you prior to the work session, so I can hand those out to you all prior to the public hearing. This is an aerial of the subject property. As you can see, there is residential on the north, west, and south side of the property. And this is the future land use map. Future land use map designates compact neighborhood. And this is the 200-foot property owner notification map for adjacent property owners. And this is a summary of the requested land use. Compact neighborhood is predominantly single-family homes with a diverse mix of building types, including small lot cottage homes, clustered courtyard homes, townhouses, row houses, and low-density multi-dwelling units. Some mix of neighborhoods serving residential uses at intersections and collectors or arterials is appropriate. Compatible zonings are listed. Those are all the zoning categories that actually exist on three sides of the property. And the local commercial district is described as neighborhoods serving commercial areas along collector or minor arterial roads in close proximity and safely walkable from nearby residences. Compatible zoning is professional office, commercial office, and neighborhood commercial. When we consider a change to the future land use map that goes from residential to non-residential, we do consider these several criteria, and I'll just briefly summarize them. One is that the area is physically appropriate for non-residential use, that the area adjacent to non-residential zoning is not separated by other non-residential zoning by a major thoroughfare or larger, that the rezoning does not allow non-residential traffic to negatively impact the existing neighborhood, that it does not leave any residual tracts of residentially zoned property, that it provides for an appropriate transition between non-residential and residential uses through separation by either distance, screening, or land use, and that non-residential use is the same intensity or compatible in density and intensity with the existing and surrounding uses. The staff does not believe that the requested change meets all of those except for one. That is the one where it does not leave any residual tracts of residentially zoned property. And this is the subject property view from Singleton Boulevard. We do have a zoning case that's companion to this, which I'll go over next, but you want me to go ahead and, sure, I can go through the pictures with that one. So the companion zoning case is requesting to change from RMF2, which is multifamily residential 2, to neighborhood commercial. Again, the staff for this case is recommending denial. We did not receive any letters in support. We have one in opposition, and we have an additional one in opposition that was just received within the last hour. And again, the aerial, future land use map, surrounding zoning, property owner notification, and the subject property from Singleton Boulevard. And this is the subject property, but looking a little bit to the south, so the adjacent single family that you can see there. It was actually zoned for townhouse uses, but they developed it at a lower density for duplexes, so just something to note. And this is to the east of the subject property across Singleton. And this is at the corner of the subject property of Singleton and South Trees Street. Up South Trees, there are about 5 or 6 single-family residences. They have been there for quite a long time. And this is from the far west end of South Trees Street, looking east. So just to orient yourself, on the right would be the subject property a little bit further in the distance, but immediately to the right is the parking lot of the multifamily complex that is to the west of the subject site. So since this request does not have a site plan, there's no plan attached with it. There were no variances being requested. I can note that the applicant's letter of intent states they want to develop the site exclusively for office purposes related to their roofing and real estate company, and that they state will not include any outside storage. They've explained that any shingles, materials, and equipment will be sent directly from the supplier to the job site and won't be stored on the property. However, the site could be developed with any of the allowable uses in the CN district. No outside storage or commercial uses are permitted outside of a building. Staff from all the other departments did review the request and did not have any additional comments. However, the staff feels strongly that the change of both the future land use plan and also the related zoning would allow for an encroachment of a non-residential use that was not necessarily intended. Not only are such uses incompatible with the immediately surrounding residential parcels, but negative impacts could be created for the neighboring residences, including truck traffic, noise associated with the operation of commercial uses. So since staff is not supportive of the request for the comprehensive plan amendment, we are also not supporting the zoning request. I did want to note that when the case was initially submitted, the applicant did work with us. They were originally requesting a more intense light industrial category, and through discussions with them and explaining how that would be even more intrusive to the neighboring homes that are already there, they in turn revised that request through our review process to a lower intensity of zoning category. But we did want to make sure that they were aware that that would preclude the on-site storage of their equipment. And I'm happy to take any questions or comments you have.
Any questions on this one?
What used to be located in that location?
It has been undeveloped.
There are like some bricks, like on the pictures you show some.
Yeah, the pillars at the
yeah,
front along Singleton.
Yeah, I noticed that. I'm not sure if anyone else here has some history. The aerials do not show anything. I can say that it was originally intended many years ago for it to be kind of an extension of that apartment complex on the west. And they went so far as to submit a plan that integrated the parking and the drive aisles. And it's possible maybe they were preparing to do something and built some of the columns for fencing that were included on that plan, but it did not ever get developed for that site plan with the multifamily uses.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff on this one? No? Great, thank you.
Okay.
And the next we have items, if we could do 15 and 16 together.
Alrighty, so these two cases are, first one is Comprehensive Plan Amendment 2024-413CP for 419 and 427 Maxwell Avenue. It is wanting to go from compact neighborhood to local commercial. After staff review, we recommend approval. For public comment, there was none in support, but there was one in opposition. The property consideration, future land use has as compact neighborhood, property owner was notified, existing kind of, so taking from single family homes, diverse building types, and then wanting to do local commercial, so serving commercial areas along collector or minor arterial roads. Again, the criteria for change to future land use map. It's physically appropriate, adjacent to non-residential and not separated from other non-residential zoning by major thoroughfare, does not allow non-residential traffic to negatively impact proposed future neighborhoods, does not leave any residual tracks, appropriate transition between non-residential and residential uses, and non-residential use is the same intensity or is compatible in density and intensity. So this is the subject property. And then I'll go ahead with this one. So 2024-363, and they're wanting to go, has quite a few zoning districts right now. It's multifamily, a site plan for commercial neighborhood or neighborhood commercial for a dress boutique, an SP1 for two-family residential, and short-term non-critical care medical care facilities. And they're wanting to take all of this and have it redesignated to commercial office. After review, staff recommends approval. Same with the public forum. No responses in support and one in opposition. This is the case they initially in 2023. This kind of southern portion, so it's two lots of the southern lot, kind of looks like a pan or pot. That one, there was a case in 2023 for the same use, the medical, short-term, non-critical medical care facility. that was approved. And then since then, they acquired the property to the north. And so they're just wanting to do the same thing again. They want to acquire the land to have more wiggle room with the, in order to build. So this is that zoning, kind of a mix all the way around. But the south where it says multifamily, it is zoned that, but it is single family residential that's there currently. Property owners notified. Again, subject property. So this is off Maxwell, and this is the subject property off of West Pioneer. Also subject property. On this one, this is kind of where the proposed building would be, and it would, they would face off of, onto Pioneer. This is the south, so if you're looking at where the house was to the left, that's the neighbor. East, so that's across the street. And then this is a, kind of on the Pioneer side neighbor. And there's no site plan with this, it's a straight zoning, and I can answer any comments or questions.
You said there was one in opposition?
Yes.
Where, is that somebody who was one of the neighbors nearby?
Believe it was the, let me get to it. I believe it was number 4. 4 and 10, okay, yeah, so
Okay.
these two right here.
And those are both residential?
Yes, yeah, it's weird on our map, we have it as multifamily, but there are single families that exist.
So
as
20, 10, 4, and 8, those are all single family?
Yes.
Actually, what's actually there?
Yes.
What about 2 and 18?
2 and 18, yes, those are single family, yes. The 18 was that one house that I was in the pictures, this one, yeah, so that's like number 18. And then 2 would be to like the right of the screen, so.
Any questions for staff, this one? No, doesn't look like it.
All
Thank you.
right.
Then on to, yeah, another 2 together, 17 and 18.
And
So this is one we already know a little bit about, right?
Yeah, this will look familiar to y'all. This was postponed from the November 4th meeting. I'll just kind of go very quickly through to summarize the changes because they are pretty simple. For this first case, we had originally 3 variances. They have done away with 2 of the variances, and they worked with staff and provided a lot more evidence as to adjacent cities and their parking standards for similar warehousing type developments. And the staff, upon reviewing all the additional documentation and the removal of the other variances, has changed recommendation to approval. We have not received any responses in support or opposition. We can go through the slides really quickly. This is just an overview of the southern portion. It's the related pieces on the north side. And the future land use map does have the entire area designated for industrial uses. And this is the zoning map, adjacent property owner notification. And this is the new revised site plan that lists the parking variance that is requesting 1 spot per 1,500 square feet of floor area as opposed to 1 per 1,000 square feet of floor area. So they have reduced that variance request from 1 to 2,000. So that is an improvement, much less of a variance than their original request. And this is also a retaining wall exhibit that they've provided showing the topography of the site. It is quite steep in areas, and that is another factor in limiting the amount of concrete coverage due to the amount of fill and replacement that will need to happen on the property. And these are some illustrative drawings. These are for the site as a whole, so that's including the parcel that's on the 183 Service Road. Total of 5 buildings, actually, the small one at the south end. And this is the subject property from Maryland, from Grauweiler, west on Grauweller, east on Grauweller, and again, the site plan. And I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Actually, could you go on to the second part of that?
Sure. I know they also have a very detailed presentation that they have submitted. This portion of the request is an amendment to the development plan, or actually creating a development plan for the portion that's along the 183 service road and falls within PUD 6. Again, the staff has changed its recommendation to approval due to the deletion of at least one variance and the modification of the additional variances to be much less intense, and also their provision of additional data and visuals that show the topography of the property. So again, this is the aerial, future land use, surrounding zoning, property owner notification, and the site plan. This one summarizes the new variance requests. They have eliminated one variance request altogether, and that was for the walkways that would connect public sidewalks to ADA areas. So they are going to comply with that. They have the same request for the parking variance in this section as they did with the previous one. And then the additional two variances are from the PUD 6 requirements that require the setback of the building to be closer to the street due to the grade of the property in that area. That is what is necessitating their building to be set back further, and also for their provision of 2 rows of parking in the front of the building as opposed to 1 row. Same issue, just due to the topography of the site and the slopes and the limited area for parking and the building footprint, because those buildings are so large and the grade is so steep. We found that was warranted. And so we did, again, change our recommendation to approval, and I'm happy to take any questions you have.
This is Daniel. I have a question about so for the PUD 6, I see in the notes that this was designated back in 2015 for flex work uses, and this is being changed to essentially warehousing. And I've heard discussion that we may be revisiting PUD 6 uses or updating, anticipated uses, or for PUD 6 generally. So I didn't know if that was on the horizon, if this would affect that effort, or if that's not.
I know Ken might have, he's been working on PUD 6 revisions, so he can probably.
I can speak to that. Basically, no. I'm sorry, speaking in the microphone here. Basically, no. The changes would not be really to the tracks B and C, which are the flex areas. Those areas would be pretty much left the way they are.
And I think the term flex work.
Because it's already been developed as kind of industrial type uses, and there's really no, it's not seen as really changing anytime in the foreseeable future, so.
Got it.
And the flex work description, I know, can be a little misleading, but it does allow for those light industrial districts under that category description.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you. All right. On to number 19.
So the next zoning case I'm presenting is zoning case 2024-381ZC. It has 4 different addresses at 1220, 1224, 1330, 1304 East Shady Grove, currently zoned R6 for single-family residential 6, and SP1 detailed site plan for thrift shop. They're wanting to rezone to CN for neighborhood commercial. Staff does recommend approval, and we see no letters in support or in opposition. Here's the aerial map showing the 4 different properties, and they're wanting to rezone and also replat the property if the zoning is approved. This is totaling to be a 0.6 acre lot, and they're wanting to do a zoning change to allow for retail and office uses. And as you can see on the aerial, west to the property, that is an auto repair shop, and then east is residential, north is residential, and south is residential. And mostly east of West Shady Grove is more commercial properties, west is more commercial properties, while east is more residential properties. Here's the future land use map being local commercial, and here's the zoning, and you can kind of see how west there's a lot of CN, CC, and then as you go more east, you're going to see more R6 coming up. Here's the notification map, and here's the applicant's illustrative exhibit. It is not for approval, but this is something that they're looking to do, and based on CN, if they are wanting to, they can't do exactly, we won't be able to hold them to this, but for CN, it is required for them to have a fencing wherever there's parking next to the residential. So on the east side where the homes are, there would need to be a fence. If they keep the parking there, if they're wanting any parking in that area, there would have to be a fence, a blind fence next to the residential properties. Here's the subject property, the other side of the subject property, north of subject property, west of subject property, and then the east of subject property. And then just to get some more information, because of that fence, we do see that this could be a good transition area, as since most of it is commercial and what it was zoned for is technically the SP1 retail is also commercial, that this could be, the office and retail could be a transition buffer from the repair shop going into the residential. And staff from traffic, CIP inspections did make comments about the illustrative plan, saying the driveway approach right now does not meet their requirement, so they would need to address that during permitting, and then also need to replat the property if this was to get approved. And since no variances are being requested, and this does meet the future land use, staff can support this request, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Said that part of it is zoned residential right now?
Yes, only one lot. It's the most left lot, number 19. That's the one that's zoned residential. The other three are zoned SP1 for thrift shop.
Okay, so the 19, that's the one next to the auto repair shop?
Yes.
Okay. All right. How tall would they be able to build if they put office building in there?
Don't know, I can't remember for sure for CN, but there is, I think, some restrictions also being next to residential, that they can't go over a certain height, but I don't know the exact height.
So you said it's 25 feet?
Maximum height for a principal structure in CN is 2.5 stories or 30 feet.
30 feet.
30 feet? And would there be any restrictions on, the windows on that? The south side's going to be overlooking people's backyards.
Yes, I do believe CN has the restrictions, I can't remember CC or CN, but the restriction of windows and not having setbacks because of windows or openings or lighting. So wherever there's windows or openings or lighting, it has to be so many feet back compared to if it doesn't have windows, opening, or lighting, it can be on the property line.
Okay, so they could put it further back if they don't have windows along the backside.
Yeah, it can be closer compared to if they have windows, it has to be further back.
So they're not asking for any variances or anything on this, so they're going to build it to fit the lot by right then?
That is what we've been told, yes.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff? No? Great, thank you.
This case is located at 2420 River Hill Road. They are requesting to rezone the property from ML20 Light Industrial to CW Commercial Warehouse. The staff does recommend approval, and we did not receive any responses in support or opposition. This is an aerial view of the property under consideration, and this is the future land use map. You can see the entire area is designated for industrial uses. This is the surrounding zoning map. This is the property owner notification, and this is the subject property. This is looking east of the subject property, west of the subject property, to the north. And again, on the aerial, because this is a straight zoning request with no variances, a site plan is not required. The main reason that the applicant is requesting the change is the commercial warehouse district has setbacks and coverage requirements that better meet the size of his building that he's proposed, and the surrounding area, since it's largely heavy commercial and light industrial, the request is definitely in conformance with the future land use plan. And the uses in the CW district are actually less intense than those that would go with the existing zoning. And because of that, the staff can support the request. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Question, Gina, what is that commercial building? What is it currently to the right of the subject property?
I am not sure. Let's see. Did I say what it was to the east? It is a plumbing contractor.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No? Thank you.
Okay. The next one is also a straight zoning case, so hopefully we can get through it quickly. Located at 220 Virginia Street and also 320 North O'Connor Road. They're requesting to rezone from SP1 CN, or Detailed Site Plan for Neighborhood Commercial, to the Heritage Crossing District, Transit Mixed Use. The staff is recommending approval, and we did not receive any public comment forms in response, in support, or in opposition. This is the property under consideration, aerial view. This is the future land use map. So you can see the immediate surrounding area to the northeast and south is all included within the Heritage Crossing District. This is the existing zoning map. And this is the surrounding zoning that just gives you an idea of the Heritage Crossing Transit Mixed Use District, which is highlighted in red compared with the other districts around. The main reason that this was brought into the HCD TMU district in 2016 was that the area would be developed and grow to include redevelopment, and especially due to its proximity to the rail lines and high accessibility that the rail provides. And this is the notification map. This is the subject property from Virginia Street. This is subject property from North O'Connor. Along North O'Connor, just looking south, looking to the west along Virginia, and then to the north across Virginia. To the west, you can see the city's justice facility. And again, because there are no variances being requested, the applicant is proposing to develop the site with 8 townhomes. He is able to accommodate that use within that zoning district on the site without any variances. And because the use is in accordance, in conformance with the future land use map, and the proposed townhomes would be consistent with the goals of the HCD TMU zone, the staff is supportive of the request. And I'm happy to take any questions you have.
Any questions for staff on this one? No, doesn't look like it. And I believe our last two, the applicant has asked for a postponement. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so we will, if we have any questions, we will ask them later in the main session. All right, we are adjourned at 7:01. We will take we'll try to do a 5-minute break, and it may take a little longer. So see you back here shortly.